Eli. I tried to steady my breath, but every second felt like an eternity. My heart was still pounding from the whole bear debacle. How had I gotten myself in this mess? The tree I was perched in swayed slightly, and I gripped the branch beneath me harder. I looked up at Luke, who was sitting a few branches above me, eyes trained on the ground below. Shouldn't we, call for help or something? I asked, trying to sound more confident than I felt. I fumbled for my phone in my jacket pocket, but it slipped out of my hands and fell into the leaves below. Luke didn't even flinch. "You really think you're going to get a signal up here?" he said, his voice almost too calm, like he was in control of the entire situation. I glanced at my phone. Of course, the damn thing didn't have any bars. "Well, it's worth a shot," I muttered, trying to power it on again. But the screen stayed dark. Typical. Of course it dies now. Luke sighed, clearly frustrated. "You know, this whole thing is your fault. You're lucky that bear didn't just decide you were a snack." I shot him a look. I wasn't the one holding a giant rifle out here. I'm sure the bear felt super invited. He grumbled, but I couldn't help but notice how he was trying to stay calm while I was about 2 seconds away from losing it. Honestly, I wasn't sure how he could stay so collected. Maybe it was that whole "I grew up in the woods" thing, but I felt completely out of my element. "Great. No signal. What now?" I said, my voice louder than it probably should have been. My hands were shaking, and I felt like I might slide off the branch if I wasn't careful. Luke's gaze flicked down to me, his jaw set tight. "Sit still," he ordered, and his tone left no room for argument. "You keep shifting around like that, we're both going to fall." I froze, suddenly aware of how high up we were. The ground looked a lot farther away now that I was thinking about it, and my stomach flipped. I'd never been great with heights, but now, with a bear circling beneath us, the idea of falling felt much worse. "Fine," I grumbled, doing my best to hold still. But I could feel my limbs twitching with the urge to move, to do something other than just wait. Waiting was a cruel form of torture. My mind was racing with all the things that could go wrong. My phone was dead, the bear was still lurking somewhere down there, and here I was, stuck in a tree, arguing with Luke, of all people. Luke let out a low breath, and I looked up at him, realizing just how still he was. Like he knew exactly how to handle a situation like this. And maybe, just maybe, he wasn't as gruff as I'd thought. "Okay," I said, forcing myself to take a breath. "I'll sit still. Just, how long are we supposed to stay up here?" He didn't answer at first, his eyes scanning the trees around us. "Until the bear gets bored and moves on," he muttered. "And no sudden movements." I nodded, though it was hard to believe we'd just be sitting up here for who knows how long, watching a bear circle beneath us. A few minutes passed in a tense silence. I could feel the adrenaline still buzzing in my veins, but I was doing my best to stay calm, calmer than I felt. I took a few slow breaths, trying to steady myself. "You know," I said, breaking the silence, "this isn't exactly how I pictured my summer vacation." Luke's lips twitched. "I bet it's not." And despite everything, despite the bear and the tree and the fear, I felt a little bit of the tension between us shift. Maybe I wasn't the only one feeling out of my element here. I just hoped we didn't end up as bear food before I could tell him that.